Hello everyone. I am Kyla Nicole Tembis.
Hi everyone.
Today, I am Regine Taer.
Hello, sir. I'm Sandy Corbetta.
And we are students from BPA to C.
Economic and technological ethics. First of all, what is this topic all about? Economic and technological ethics is the study of moral principles and values that guide how we do business, manage wealth, develop technology, and use digital systems. Economic and technological ethics is responsible for people to have the ability to manage their wealth well, to kind of make sure that their business is thriving, and so on and so forth, and to also kind of like use digital systems responsibly. So now that that's being explained briefly, let's move on to the main issue. The main issue that we face today with this type of ethics is the conflict between progress and morality. Why? Based on my understanding, economics and technology can sometimes be a bit of conflict with each other, because sometimes there's people that kind of restrains changes, there's like people who's kind of like really new to the technology, the high technology in this generation. So yeah, it can kind of like conflict between progress, because even though we are advancing in terms of technology, talking about artificial intelligence being almost everywhere and a kind of like being in every search engine such as Google. So yeah, moving on. As technology advances and the global economy grows, we often encounter situations where something might be technically possible or financially profitable, but we must ask, is it morally right? Is it fair? And does it harm people or the environment? Actually, these questions are actually really important and crucial, because as technology is like a right thing, or like maybe I can't really explain, I'm so sorry. As much as technology is kind of like built or implemented to help, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, and if not used right, it's going to cause more harm than good. So yeah. Now moving on, this field addresses difficult questions such as, how should wealth and resources be distributed fairly? Do companies have responsibilities beyond just making profit? How do we protect people's rights and privacy in a digital world? And how can we ensure technology is used to help society, not to exploit or discriminate? So just as what I've said in my previous explanation, it is really important to kind of address it, because like I said, technology can be harmful if not consumed properly or responsibly, because some people are just cruel, and they would really use it to their advantage. And if you're very much updated, I think you kind of know what I mean, AI, something like that. Yeah. So in conclusion, the ethical problem is ensuring that economic growth and technological innovation do not come at the cost of justice, human dignity, or the well-being of people and the planet, to make sure development benefits everyone, not just the powerful or wealthy.
Well, the background and context of economic and technological ethics that present important facts, examples, or real-world relevance. To understand why this topic is so important today, let us look at the background and real-world situation. First is the speed of development. We are now in a digital age where technology is growing very fast, such as artificial intelligence, social media, and automation. Businesses also operate globally, connecting different countries. Because of this rapid change, society is constantly adjusting to new systems and innovations. It means nga paspas kayo ang growth sa technology karon. Like what I've said, that nga naay artificial intelligence, automation, o social media nga nag-usab sa atong daily life o trabaho. At the same time, ang businesses kay global na, meaning connected na ang laing-laing countries. Tungod ani kinahanglan nga permit na mag-adjust sa changes. Next is the gap between progress and rules. The main challenge is that technology and business practices change very quickly, but laws, regulations, and moral guidelines often take time to catch up. This creates a gray area where actions are not clearly illegal but may still be unethical. So, pasabot ani, ang problema kay dili parehas kapaspas ang laws of ethics sa technology, while tech is evolving quickly. Ang rules hinay makapas, mao nang naay gray area, madili illegal pero mahimong gihapon unethical. Next is the real-world examples and relevance. In economy, we see a growing gap between the rich and the poor. While some companies make huge profits, many workers struggle with low wages or unsafe conditions. Issues like labor exploitation and unfair trade shows us that economic success must be balanced with responsibility. So makita nato no nga ang gap sa mga rich o poor. Some companies earn big, pero ang workers gamay gihapon ang sweldo. And dili pa rin safe uban ang ilahang working conditions. So, kinahanglan balance ang profit o responsibility. In technology, we share personal information online, use smart devices, and interact with algorithms every day. This raises concerns about data privacy, security, and whether technology is being used to manipulate or discriminate against people. Meaning, every day ta nag-share ang personal data online. This creates risk like privacy issues, hacking, or manipulation pinaagi sa algorithms. Dili lang convenience, naapod danger. Next is the global impact. Decisions made by large corporations or tech giants in one part of the world can affect workers, consumers, and the environment in another. Meaning, ang desisyon sa mga big companies like tech giants maka-affect sa ubang countries. For example, workers, environment, o consumers mahimong maapektuhan bisan layo sila. Actions have worldwide consequences, and the power of technology and business is now so great that unethical choices can cause massive harm. Both pasabot ani nga atong actions karon dako na kayo og epekto. Dili lang tayo mag-focus sa profit or kung legal ba siya, pero dapat hunaw-naon pud kung fair, responsible, o respectful sa human dignity. Also, dapat nga careful ta o ethical ta sa atong mga buhaton. Mo nang importante kayo jud ang economic and technological ethics. Next is the ethical analysis using major frameworks to be discussed by Joanna. Thank you.
Hi everyone. When a company has a big problem, how do they know when the right thing to do is? Do they look at the money? Do they look at the rules? Or do they look at their own values? Today, I will explain the three main ways we study ethics, looking at the result, at the rules, and looking at the person's characters. We can analyze the issues in economic and technological ethics using three major frameworks. So let's talk first about the utilitarianism. This approach focuses on the consequences of an action. It asks, does it create the greatest good for the greatest number of the people? So, an action is right if it benefits the majority and minimizes harm. For instance, When a company develops new technology or follows a business practice, we must look at the total result. Example, automation may increase profit and efficiency. Good di siya for the company and the consumers. But if it causes mass unemployment, harm to workers. It is harm to workers. The overall balance might be negative. So, we're going to ask, does this action bring more happiness and benefit than suffering? That is utilitarianism. So this framework is about counting or thinking about the result. You look at the final outcome and try to see if the world has more happiness or less pain because of what you did. Second, the deontology or duty-based ethics. This approach focuses on rules and duties, regardless of the result. It asks, is this action inherently right or wrong? Certain actions are right or wrong in themselves, no matter how useful or profitable they are. And we have moral duty to treat people with respect, honesty, and fairness. For example, even if lying or exploiting workers increases profit, it is still wrong because it violates the duty to be honest and respect human rights. So, are we following universal moral rules like do not steal, do not harm, and be fair? Duty-based ethics regardless of the result. So this framework is about duty. You don't care about the result. You only care about following the right rules. Third, the virtue ethics. This approach focuses on character. It emphasizes values like honesty, compassion, justice, and integrity. It is not just about following rules or calculating results. It is about developing good habits and values. For example, a socially responsible company acts ethically not just to avoid punishment, but because they value justice and care for the company. This framework is about who you are. Instead of looking at the action or the result, it looks at the person making the choice. So in summary, to summarize it all, utilitarianism looks at the result, benefits versus harm. Deontology looks at the action, right versus wrong rules. Virtue ethics looks at the character and its values and integrity. And that should be all for my part, and I thank you.
Today I'll be discussing about the comparison of perspective between the three different frameworks that was discussed by the last reporter. So when we look at the three frameworks, we can see where they agree and where they differ in their approach to economic and technological issues. So in terms of agreement, all those three frameworks agree that harm, exploitation, and injustice are wrong. They also agree that businesses and technology should ideally benefit society and not destroy it. So, instead nga maka-destroy siya, dapat maka-benefit siya sa society or the people who lived in that society. And those frameworks also agreed that whether you are utilitarian, deontologist, or you follow virtue ethics, you likely conclude that child labor, stealing data, or poisoning environment are still unethical. And in terms of disagreement, they disagree on why something is wrong or how should we decide. So, for example, sa makita niyo sa table sa PPT na kabutaan na ang lying. So, in terms of utilitarianism, lying is okay if the result is good, if the result is great, or it prevents harm. So, good siya, then it is ethical. But otherwise, if dili maayo ang resulta, then makaharm siya, then it is unethical. And in terms of deontology, lying is always wrong. Regardless sa result no kung maayo ba siya or dili, as long as if ni-violate siya sa rules, then wrong jud siya. No? Then virtue ethics, which focuses on the character and intention, then lying is wrong, of course, kay it shows bad character. Kaya diba maingo ito nga, uy, mali na kay kanang namutbut ka, so kay virtue ethics man siya, then lying is wrong. And that also applies to economic and technological topics or issues. So for example, diba, sa ikaduha makita natin ang cutting jobs. So in terms of utilitarianism, acceptable siya if it saves the company, if it benefits the company, and it helps more people. In terms of deontology, cutting jobs is wrong if it treat workers as tools or na-violate ang rights nila as a worker. And in terms of virtue ethics, cutting jobs is depende no og ethical ba siya or unethical. It depends on the intention of the company. If kanang na ay to be fair ba na ilang intention or to be greedy lang. And so why this difference matters? Of course it matters because utilitarianism is flexible and it allows exceptions if outcome is good. Deontology is strict because it set absolute rules to protect rights. And virtue ethics is personal because it focuses on good habits rather calculating or following rules. So it depends on you as a person. So to conclude, while they often lead us to same conclusions that we should be fair and responsible, they use different reasoning. What works best, what is our duty, or what is good character. And that needs to be considered also no, in taking actions economically or technologically. And we're now down to the recent position or recommendation. So based on our analysis using the different ethical frameworks, our group hereby present our final position and recommendation about our topic economic and technological ethics. So we believe that economic growth and technological innovation must always be guided by moral principles. Yes, profit and efficiency are important, but they should never be achieved at the expense of human rights, fairness, or the well-being of the society. So, what is legally allowed or financially possible is not always morally right. Therefore, responsibility and ethics must be integrated into every decision-making process. And for our recommendations, we propose the following actions both for economically and technologically. So, we would like to recommend for companies and business that they should adopt ethical standards, that they should practice transparency, fair trade, and environmental responsibility, not just focusing only on the profit or kung unsa kay maka-benefit only nila. And they should also respect workers, like ensuring fair wages, safe conditions, and avoid exploitations. And they should also respect their workers, like they should treat their workers as people and not tools. And of course, responsible innovation, like in creating technology, it needs design to help people and protect privacy and not to manipulate or harm. And we would like also to recommend for government and policymakers to update laws, like creating clear regulations that keep up with technology to prevent misuse and protect citizens, especially nowadays nga grabe na kayo ang gamit sa technology, digital age, no? So they should update laws like data protection laws and labor laws. And of course, they should also promote equality by implementing policies that reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. And next, we would like to recommend for individuals and society that they should be uninformed consumers, that people should be uninformed consumers. They should avoid avoid companies that do not act ethically and support those who does. Support companies though that who act ethically. And of course, they should demand accountability because we have the right to question how our data are used and how products are made. Kaya anak pa sila bitaw nga lamang ang may alam. So, overall, ethics is not an obstacle to progress because it serves as a guide. It is the guide that ensures progress is beneficial and sustainable, dili lang para sa isa, dili lang para sa duha, but to many people, to majority of the people. And by balancing economic success with moral values, we can create a world where technology serves humanity and business contributes to the common good.